All right, y'all. Welcome to the Friday Experience. My name is Pastor Lawrence Dufront, and I will be your host for the day. I'm looking for my lighter. If you haven't already, please text LSMin to 24251 so that you can join our text group. Boom. Also, if you are interested in donating to the ministry, the cause, the purpose, whatever word works to the work. There we go. We'll call it the work. If you are interested in donating to the work, you can donate via Cash App or you can go to the website, www.lawrencesouffront.com/ministry, and you can donate over there. Also, want to let you guys know about the Restoring Masculinity course, which will be, well, actually, it's available now, but we're going to start the course, start the lectures, I should say, and conversation July 7th. But the course is available. If you haven't registered, you need to go ahead and register because I'm about to give y'all a lot of value. Happy Sabbath, Shad. It's good to see you. Um, it's always good to see you, bro. What else? What else? What other announcements am I missing? Um, I guess that's it. Oh, if you haven't already, please share. Please share this so that other people can get some of this goodness. Only if this adds value to your own life. If you don't like what I'm doing, then you are more than welcome to not share. But if you enjoy the Friday experience, don't keep it all to yourself, people. Let the world know what's going on, right? Because it is our job, um, or it is our duty rather, to let the people know that there's something good going on if there's something good going on. So if you haven't already, please share. Um, and that's about it. So today we're going to talk about something very, very interesting. Um, the title might be a little heavy. Oh, okay. My bad. The queen got a little shameless plug. Looking for vendors for our Juneteenth event in Huntsville. DM the queen if you are interested in that Juneteenth event in Huntsville is actually going to be amazing. And so, if you are, if you are available, then yeah, please DM the queen so that you can get yourself on that vendor's list. Also, if you have any prayer requests, if there's ever any topics that you want to discuss, please feel free to hit me up so that we can talk about it. I don't have a problem discussing anything. You know what I mean? If there is in fact something that you that you want to discuss in a public forum. Of course, if you have any questions, you can always hit me up privately. But if there's something that you want to discuss in a public forum, I have no problem discussing those things. And so please feel free to contact me. You can DM me, you can text me. If you have my number, you can email me, whatever works for you. And we can have it either privately or we can make it a part of the Friday experience. This, you guys, this is for you. This is not for me. This is not something that I do that is to make me feel good. This is something that I do to help public. And so it's all about what serves you guys best. And so, yeah, please let me know if there is a topic that you want to discuss. Um, I'm more than willing to discuss it. All right. So, today we're going to talk about living in multiple realities. Now, I made it sound real heavy. It is kind of heavy, but I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible. I'm not trying to go over you guys' head in what I'm discussing. But I do want to talk about this because it's extremely relevant. This is similar to the identity. We talked about the identity series, right? We talked about getting to know yourself. And this is kind of similar on that same vein, but I kind of want to combine it into even more simple terms because I think that some of us are still kind of struggling with the reality of who we are to some degree. And I think the reason is because a lot of us haven't yet accepted the fact that we are, in fact, two people. At least. We are at least two people. Did you hear what I just said? We are at least two people. We are who we think we are, and we are who other people think we are. Both versions are true. It is not a question of, and we about to talk about this because I I can already kind of sense, like, what do you mean? Some people, they think I'm this and that's not me. That's why. Yes, both versions are true. They're just not, sometimes who we think we are and who they think we are, they don't work well together, meaning they're not one and the same person, which is why I say we're at least two people. Someone can think I'm rude and I'm not actually rude. Now that's either because I'm in denial, or because of their experience, or I might have been rude to them that day, or they're not used to a certain level of energy that I bring. Right? There's so many factors and dynamics as to why someone might think that I'm rude, and though I don't think that I'm rude, I might be comfortable with a certain level of rudeness, right? And so there are so many dialogues, so many dynamics, as to why the two don't necessarily agree. The thing is, it doesn't make one true and the other false. What it means is, and we're gonna discuss it, but what it means is, what is true to me affects me a certain way. What's true to them affects them a certain way. All right, so let's go through two verses. I just want to touch these two verses. Proverbs 23, verse 7 says, hold on, let me put that in the chat. And I want you guys to talk to me, because I don't want y'all to just leave or dismiss this without considering, without putting in your input. I really want to make sure that this is clear to everybody. So Proverbs 23, verse 7 says, for as he thinketh within himself, so is he. He says to you, eat and drink, but his heart is not with you. Okay, so before somebody accuses me of proof texting, right? Yes, what that proverb is talking about is dealing with interacting with selfish people, trying to really consider them a thing of value. If you really break down the cryptic language, it's talking about, to be careful to not try to apply the principles of selfish people, because what ends up happening is those principles end up corrupting us. That's actually what the verse is talking about. But what the Hebrews like to do, and I said this 1,000 times, but I'm gonna say it again, especially for the first time visitors. The Hebrews will add or will hide truth in general statements. So they'll give, they will give a um they will give a statement, right? A specific statement, and then they will. I was just about to text you back, bro. They give a specific statement, and then they will give the reasoning behind that specific statement, and the reasoning behind that statement is a general principle. That's what Jesus was doing. That's kind of how the Hebrews would communicate. So they might say something like, you know, don't make sure you look both ways before you cross, because cars move very fast, right? And so you looking both ways is the specific thing. The cars moving very fast is a general statement that kind of fuels the specific instruction. Okay, and so when they say don't eat with them, be careful of eating with them, because it's going to mess your stomach up. Is coming from the perspective of who they think they are, so are they. And so this is the general principle. As a man thinketh, or as he thinketh within himself, so is he. As a man thinketh within himself, so is he. What you consider yourself to be, that is who you are. No one can take that identity away from you. I'm gonna say that again. No one can take that identity away from you. Who you think you are, that is in fact who you are. Here's the thing: who you think you are influences the decisions and the actions that you make for yourself. So if you think you are a superhero, then you are going to make decisions. You're going to move. You're going to behave like a superhero, because that's who you think you are, in your mind. If you think you're rich, you're going to move and behave and make decisions based off of what you think rich people live like, based off of the perspective you have, of the rich. If you think you're intelligent, you're going to move and make decisions as someone who thinks they're intelligent. If you think you're funny, if you think you're attractive, whatever you think you are, whatever idea, whatever identity you created for yourself, it is going to influence the decisions that you make. And if that makes sense, I want you to say yes. And so as you think based off of the ideas that you created for yourself. There we go. Let me put some of these highs up because this high was mad low. As you think, so 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 you are whatever perception and idea you have for yourself. That is in fact a version of you, but that is a version that dwells and that lives within yourself. Meaning it is a reality that you are experiencing because it is a reality that you have accepted. So when we're dealing with reality, reality, no reality. Let me say this again. I want to be abundantly clear. No, I want to be careful. The reality that you're experiencing is not objective. I'm gonna say that again. The reality that you are experiencing is not objective. We are all experiencing a subjective reality, meaning that we're experiencing the reality that we've created within our own minds. Our minds created. So even the way we see blue, we're not seeing objective blue, we're seeing subjective blue. When we look at blue, when we look at red, there is a way that we see it that never translates to other people. No one else there's no way to verify if that person sees the blue the way you see the blue. We can verify that this blue is lighter than that blue. We can verify that this is blue and this is not red. We can have those type of conversations because we're all looking at an objective truth, but how we're experiencing that truth is always subjective. And that might be the hardest thing for a lot of us to accept, especially those of us who grew up in a religious background. Religion teaches us that everybody has to cater to this objective view of reality. Is there an objective view of reality? Yes. Yes, there there is a objective reality, but none of us experience that objective reality. And so the spiritual teachings are designed to help bring us back to the objective truth. If you understand, the spiritual teachings across the board are designed to help us go back to that objective truth, because how we view things, how we've accepted things, it influences the experience that we have in this world. But though that's what the spiritual teachings are supposed to do, and when I say the spiritual teachings, what I mean is when we learn about prayer and fasting and meditation, XYZ, it's supposed to connect us back to God, to the Most High, and the Most High is the only really objective reality. All of creation is a projection of the actual reality. God is the only reality. So when we connect back to the Most High, we're connecting to the one thing that is, in fact, objective and will not change and is 100% truth, is 100% real. And so the closer we walk with the Most High, the closer we get to experiencing that objective reality. The spiritual teachings are designed to get us closer to the Most High. As we get closer to the Most High, we see the world for what it is. Right? We see ourselves for what it is. But it's a process. So the more we grow in consciousness, the more we see the world for what it is. But it is a process. And so some of what we see is in fact what it is, and some of what we see is a an experience we're having based off of all the stuff that we've accepted, all the stuff that was taught to us. Listen, if I'm going over your heads, let me know. I don't need y'all, because this can be confusing if you've never heard this before. So I want you to ask your questions. But if I'm making sense, I'm just gonna keep going. It's a conversation though, so I want y'all input. I want y'all questions, right? Okay. And so since the reality that we've experienced is subjective, we will create truths that are real to us, and they're only real when they're in our world. They're not real to anybody else, but they're real to us. So when some of us, when we were younger, we were privileged to have an imaginary friend, right? That imaginary friend, one of the reasons why we call it an imaginary friend is because it was a friend that the rest of the world could not see. But if you had an imaginary friend, that friend was real to you. Your imagination is not a fake world. It is just your imagination is not a fake world. Your imagination is a subjective world. And there is some necessity to have a subjective world. You need a world that works for you. That needs to exist in order for you to carve your own individual identity. That objective world, or that subjective world rather, is necessary for you to have peace of mind. That subjective world is what helps you figure out the person you want to project to everybody else. It's subjective. It's only real to you. It's not real to anybody else. But it's still real. When we make the subjective world fake, we are robbing ourselves of some realities, and it's important because when we rob ourselves of our subjective reality, we also rob ourselves of control of what we project to the rest of the world. Can I say that? Listen, I don't want to lose anybody, but I need you to understand the bar that I just dropped. When you remove your subjective reality, you also remove control of what you project to the rest of the world. You should, if you're responsible, there is you should have an idea, some idea of what you want the world to see when you step out. Can we talk about that? I think that might be, I might have just unlocked some things. Some of you, you're stepping out without any real consideration of what it is you want the world to see. You're stepping out there, and you're stepping out there, and you're not thinking about what it is you want to convey. And some of you, you're stepping out there thinking about, you're concerned about how other people see you, but you haven't considered the effort you put to project the image you want them to see. Meaning you're stepping out there and you're hoping they see one thing, but you haven't been intentional in projecting the thing that you want them to see. And part of the reason that you haven't been intentional because you've been denying the subjective world that you live in. So there is a version that is you that only you know. So if you think you're the most in your world, you're the most beautiful. In your world, you're the most intelligent, right? But that might not be true for everybody's world. And that's the thing about the subjective world. The subjective world, you can be whatever you want to be. The thing is, so the point of the subjective world is for you to control who you want to be. The point of the subjective world is for you to share that projection with the rest of the world. Now, there is another you, and that is what everybody else sees. That is the objective. That is the part that you have minimal control over. You have control over what you project. Listen to what I'm saying carefully. You have control over what you project. You don't have control over what they see. Can I say that again? You have control over what you project. I hope y'all can hear me. You don't have control over what they see. Remember how I started this, right? We're both looking at blue, but the way we see blue is different. The way we see red is different. It might be similar, but it's different. I'm gonna pick up those waves just slightly different from how you're gonna pick up those waves, right? And so blue is just projecting itself as blue. Blue is doing the blue stuff. But how we see blue and how we respond to blue, blue has no control over. All blue can do is ensure that based off of its perspective, it's sharing itself the way that it wants to share itself. I need that. Okay. Because okay, so you can try to project yourself as, let's say, intelligent. You might want, when you step out there, you want them to see your intelligence. The most you could do is your best to show them that you're intelligent. So how do you do your best? Well, that's layered. You can make up something in your mind. You can say intelligent people wear glasses, and so since I want to project intelligence, I'm gonna start wearing glasses. You might say intelligent people um, drop deep quotes on Facebook, and so I want to view myself as intelligent. I want the world to see me as intelligent, so I'm gonna start dropping deep quotes on Facebook. You can make up whatever you want in your mind and then project that thinking that you're going to get the message across. But whatever you project, they're going to take whatever you project and they're going to draw their own conclusions because you can't control how they see you. So you might drop an intelligent quote. You might say, "Ooh, this is intelligent. I'm gonna drop this because I want them to see how intelligent I am." And they might read the quote and say, "Yo, this is the dumbest thing I ever read." And what that does to you is that gets you offended. If they say, "Oh, this is mad stupid," it gets you offended. Why does it get you offended? Because they're not seeing what you're trying to project. Man, listen, listen. Most of our offenses, most of the things that we find offensive, most, not all, most, most of the things we find offensive is not because the thing itself is offensive. We find it offensive because it doesn't agree with the reality that we've created. When you see, so this is why you have to know that your reality is for you, but there is still a reality that is beyond you, that is outside of your control. And you want to be conscious of that, because when you're conscious of that, then the other way that you can control your projection is to get information from the outside world as to how they interpret things. All right, we're going to talk about this today. We're going to talk about it. Part of the problem is many of us, we're trying to change the lens that the world sees things. That's not a bad thing, but it's an exhausting thing. It is exhausting to try to change the lens that the world sees things. It is it can it's more effective to a degree, everything in context. To a degree is more effective to understand the lens in which the world sees things and then use that information to ensure that we're projecting a reality that the world can see. All right, Shad says something. He says, if everyone is seeing reality through their own lens and perspective, and God being the only and ultimate reality, should we be selective in who we show ourselves to? Uh-huh. Because differences of opinions can escalate to places where it shouldn't have to go. Shad, you're getting it, bro. You're getting it. You're understanding it. That's exactly right. Certain places, your reality, your truth, yourself does not fit in the reality that they're creating. So we're constantly creating realities. I was just talking to my boy. Shout out to my boy. I won't say his name because I don't know how he's gonna feel about it, right? But we were talking about going to clubs, and he doesn't really go to clubs for real. He's kind of dibbling and dabbling, and he's like, "Yo, I don't know the rules when I go to a club." That's a fair question to ask. I don't know the rules when I go to the club. Like the club is a reality, and I had to share with him. Well, it depends on what club you go to, because every club has its own culture, its own reality. And so what works in one club won't work in another club. See, when we get together, when we come together in unity, we create a new world. The influence of that world, it depends. So if we use hip hop, for example, hip hop hip hop was created for oppressed black people to get their message across, to inspire us, to encourage us to keep going while we're under this oppressive system, to bring awareness to the oppression, to bring validation to our experiences, to share our story. Hip hop was for us. Hip hop was not created for the world, but hip hop, because of the power of it, influenced the world. It wasn't created for the world, but it's influencing the world. And what happened now is hip hop grew beyond the community it was created for. And I would even argue now hip hop is starting to represent us less and less because of the commercialization of it, and because people's struggles are just different. And so now we have to qualify what hip hop is. Because hip hop in New York, see, hip hop started in New York. Y'all might not know this, but hip hop started in New York. And so those of us who are from the East Coast, for a while, it took us a while, and some of us are still struggling with it. It took us a while to respect hip hop expression outside of New York. So Southern rap wasn't considered hip hop. It was rap, but we didn't consider it hip hop. West Coast rap was rap, but it wasn't hip hop because what they was talking about was different from what we was talking about. But from a purist perspective, some would argue if you're gonna do hip hop in the South, you should sound like a New Yorker, but in the South. But then there's other people who say, nah, B, hip hop as a philosophy is this, hip hop as a culture is that. And it gives us the freedom now to express it in the way that works best for us. And so Chop and Screwed, which is a Houston thing, is just as much hip hop as the boom bat we get in New York. Now this is a debate that people have, but the debate is simply to figure out how we're going to respect and move in each other's world. So for those who don't even claim to be a part of hip hop, they don't care. They're like, yo, I love this music. This music is dope. This music is fire. I'm just going to listen to the music. I'm just going to sing along with it. I'm just going to dance to it. I'm not offended. See, because they didn't create a preconceived reality of what hip hop is, they're not offended by the different expressions of hip hop. But those of us who have created, those of us who say hip hop is this, when we hear something outside of that, it causes offense. It's like when people talk about cultural appropriation. It's offensive because if a culture says this is how we do things and this is why we do things, that's now a world. That is a world. That is a reality that is created. In this world, in this reality, this is what we do, this is why we do it, this is how we do it. And so when someone outside of that world takes that, that world gets offended. That culture gets offended. Why? Because what they're doing is it contradicts or it even goes against the intention of what that world created. And so to make it completely plain, most of the time you're offended, it's because of you. When someone calls you ugly, the only reason you're offended, and look, we going there today. The only reason you're offended is because you created a reality in your mind that number one says there's something wrong with being ugly, and number two that says you're not ugly. And so when someone calls you ugly, you take offense. But in reality, listen, in objective world, what did they really do? When you remove the subjectivity of it, what did they really do? And here's the thing: if in their world you're ugly, what does that have to do with your world? In their world, you're ugly. So when you move into their world, when you're entering into their space, when they look at you, they see ugly. Doesn't matter what you do, they see ugly. But if in your world you're beautiful, then you should probably stay in your world. Y'all not really trying to hear this. Some of us we are trying to control other realities that are out of our control. And when I say out of, what I mean is there's only so much you can do to project and have them accept your projection. So when we're dealing with communities, when we're dealing with acceptance, because let's talk about it. When we're talking about community and acceptance, there is a thin line between looking for acceptance and looking for validation. There's a thin line between looking for acceptance and looking for validation. Let me break it down. I'm gonna break it down. I'm gonna break it down, right? Because when you're looking for acceptance, that means you're in your world, you like your world, and you want to find spaces where your world agrees with their world. That's acceptance. Where I like my world, I built my world, I like my world, I spent time building this world. I see things a certain way, I view things a certain way, and it's not just I was intentional. I've made this, and now I'm looking for spaces where my world can join with somebody else's world. That's acceptance, or where I can join with their world because their world is similar to my world. That's acceptance, right? Or our worlds are different, but they don't collide, and so we can be ourselves. That's acceptance. Acceptance assumes that you are solid and sure about who you are and the world that you created. Validation is saying, I don't want this in my world until I know you like it. Validation means you're waiting for all the outer influences to tell you what's acceptable in your own world. And a lot of us, we say we're looking for acceptance, but in reality, we're looking for validation. Because if the outside doesn't like it, then we're not gonna like it neither. But if the outside loves it, then we're gonna love it too. We never even considered how that works within our world. Because at the end of the day, while we have to interact with one another, and I love you guys, and we should love one another, and this, that, and the third, there is a point where you have to interact with yourself. And a lot of times, when you look in the mirror, you don't like what you see. It's not because there's something wrong with you. It's because you haven't spent enough time to even figure out who do you want to be. What makes you sleep good at night? When you look in the mirror, what gets you excited? You focus so much on what they want to see and what they like. And so when you're buying clothes, you're not buying clothes based off of what you like. You're not thinking, "Hey, I think this is dope." And I'm talking in general, because some of us, when we're buying clothes, it's not like, "Hey, this is gonna be dope. I love how I look in this." Some of us, we're buying clothes saying, "Hey, when I put this on, they gonna love me. They gonna look at me like, ooh, I'm killing it. When they see me put this on, it's all about them." But you've never considered how that affects your world. It never even crossed your mind. And so because some of us, we don't spend time in our own world, we don't even know how to love ourselves outside of the validations of other people. It becomes a problem if you're comfortable being controlled by the opinions of others, then there's no problem. Then there's no problem. If you don't mind not being the master of your own existence, if you don't mind not being able to make your own decisions, if you don't mind the fact that the rest of the world will always control you to a certain degree, then there is no problem with constantly focusing on what they want. Some of y'all don't even like Jordans. It's because they like it, you put it on. Y'all don't even like Air Forces, and y'all don't like Yeezys. Y'all don't really care for Gucci. Y'all don't care for Louis Vuitton. Y'all don't care about none of this stuff. But because they care about it, you make yourself care about it. Some of y'all wouldn't care what a Tesla was had it not been for these outside influences. And I want to be abundantly clear. There's nothing wrong with learning something from the outside and examining it and saying that can work in my world. But you can only do that when you already have a world established. If you don't have your own world, all you're gonna do is keep on taking from here and keep from, and that's why you end up being portrayed as fake. Because when you and look, y'all not talking to me, because, but I know y'all listening, right? Yes, there is some wisdom in being able to adapt from world to world. I even recommend it. There's some safety in being able to, when you're in Atlanta, when in Rome, you do as Rome does, right? Like Paul says, I become all things to all men so that I can, win them over. Hey, what's going on, Tanya? It's good to see you. You need to catch it from the beginning because we dealt with some good stuff already. It's good. It's good to be able to become all things to all people. It's good to be able to shift from world to world and know how to move from world to world. That's good, but you'll end up losing yourself if you don't spend time building your own world. Because what happens when you by yourself? And I'm really talking to those who struggle with being by themselves. I'm talking to those who, when they're by themselves, they're automatically feeling lonely. Like, you can be by yourself and not feel lonely. You can be alone and not feel lonely. When you're feeling lonely, that's because there is still this desire of acceptance that you don't have. That you're still looking for, I should say, because you might have it, but you don't have the consciousness to perceive it. So I want to be careful with my words. You can be alone and not be lonely. This lonely feeling, it really stems from from the perception in the world that you built for yourself. And so if you created this idea, if you've accepted this idea that 1,000 people need to love me in order for me to be loved, then if you only have 999, it's not going to be enough. And what's going to happen is you're going to make decisions to ensure that you don't lose the love that you already gained. It's like people who are obsessed with the amount of followers they have on social media. When they're posting something, they want to see how people respond, and then when people respond negatively, they pull it down, because they don't want to lose any followers. Now, if the followers make you money and that's a part of your profession or your income stream, then of course you have to do that, because you don't want to mess with your bag. But if you look, if the amount of followers you have ain't putting a cent in your pocket, the amount of followers you have is not advancing your life in any shape, form, or fashion, and you're concerned about somebody else not liking what you post, then you're struggling with the security of your own world. Because in my world, I do what I want to do and I'm content with it. When I say I do what I want to do, because here's the thing, religion done a good job in convincing you that what you want to do is automatically sinful and reckless. That was religion's doing. Religion convinced you when people say, I want to do what I want to do, their minds are trained to say they want to do the most reckless and sinful stuff. When sometimes all you want to do, it might be laying in the house butt naked. Are you being naked, right? In the heart, I'm a nudist, right? If it wasn't for the fact that I know that I would offend most of you, I'd be naked right now. But if I go on camera naked, number one, I'll get flagged because social media don't like that, right? But number two, a lot of you would be offended by my freedom of being nude. I don't know why my freedom offends you, but I know why. Because my world conflicts with your world. Some of there's shame in being naked, and that's fine. If you don't like being naked, and nobody asks you to. Me being naked doesn't mean you have to take your clothes off, right? It's just, if I'm naked for myself. But we're conditioned. In fact, we're wired to see what's appropriate based off what other people are doing. It's like a herd syndrome, and so that works when it works, but when it doesn't work, it's detrimental. It works when it works, right? Because, like, like, it's a black rule. When a black person sees another black person running, we running with them. Because if we were going in one direction and a black person runs past us, we're gonna take off and run with them. We'll ask questions later, because if it wasn't good for them and they black and I'm black, oh, it ain't gonna be good for me. We'll talk about it when we get to a place of safety, right? That's kind of that herd mentality, and it works. It keeps us safe. But it becomes a problem. Listen to me. It becomes a problem when I really want to go that way, but I feel like I'm doing something wrong simply because no one else is going there. Now we have a problem, because now I'm turning off the internal voice in me, which is usually the most highest communication. I'm turning off that internal voice in order to be pleasing to the sights of other people. I You have to be comfortable. I strongly recommend that you learn how to be comfortable that everybody's not going to see you the way you see yourself. And you might think it's also, I use the anime world, right? Look, I got on Naruto. Y'all know who it is. Y'all know what it is. And even with this is Naruto in a specific state for those who watch the show, right? It's not, Naruto. He's doing his Nine Tails thing, right? All right. The anime world. Some people, they love it. Some people think the anime world is corny. Okay, that's fine. When I go out there, I know I need to know the world I'm in. I'm in a world where people think anime is corny. All right, we're not going to talk about anime because they think it's corny. So why am I going to bring that up and disrupt this world if I want to be in this world? But if I'm in this world and they think anime is corny and they ask me what do I think of anime, if I'm not confident enough to say I like it, but we don't got to discuss it because I know y'all think it's whack, I shouldn't be there in the first place. Because this is how you lose yourself. When you find yourself denying the things that you agree with, or you find yourself denying the things that you love, simply because you don't want other people to look at you crazy. Look at me crazy. Look at me like I'm corny if you think I like anime. Because I don't like anime for you. I like anime for me. And the others who love anime, we gonna get together and have a good time. We have to learn, and here it is, we have to learn how to compartmentalize and accept that who they think I am is very limited to who I know I am. When my mom said you have to be careful, be wise like a serpent. Absolutely. Absolutely. We want to be careful, but we also want to make sure that we're not because if you're losing yourself, then you're not being careful. If you lose yourself, it does more damage to you than you think. And the reason why I'm because you're right, mom. We have to be careful. We have to be as wise as serpents. We don't want to put ourselves in danger. That's very important. But we want to consider that maybe we shouldn't just go there because there's certain look. Some of you work at jobs you shouldn't work at. Some of you're fighting to move into neighborhoods you probably shouldn't live at. And I'm gonna say it plain because this is my platform. Integration got y'all messed up. Integration convinced you that white is right. And so everywhere white folk are, and I'm talking to the black folks because I know I got some white people who follow me. I'm talking to the black folks. Everywhere white folks are, black folks just want to be there just because they there. It becomes a nice neighborhood if it's white. That's what happened. Because white people were able to build their own things, and then white people also was destroying our own things, our stuff. White folks were destroying our stuff. They built theirs and they destroyed ours, and so we like, well, they're not going to destroy their own, so let's just go there. What happens with white flight? What happens when we occupy a good neighborhood and then they leave? They leave, create a new good neighborhood. What do you think is happening to Newark right now in New Jersey? What do you think is happening in Brooklyn right now? Come on, yeah, let's be wise. What's happening in Huntsville, Alabama right now? Like I need y'all to smarten up, right? They intentionally lower the value of what is ours so they can buy it for cheap and then get the appreciation. They know because we've given them too much control. We've done that in thinking that what they do is automatically right because they're doing it. I'm not saying we got to reject what they do simply because they're doing it. I'm saying we have to be free enough to look into our world and say, this is who I am in my world. And then look around on the outside world and then take what works with me. Take what works with us because everything doesn't work in our world, and our world is a real world. And so I got my hair locked, right? I got my hair locked. I wanted to lock my hair for a long time. It took me, oh man, it took me like 30 years really. Well, no, I didn't want to lock my hair when I was first born. I didn't know what that was, but I wanted to lock my hair at least in high school. You know, I didn't lock my hair in high school. Number one, my mom didn't like locks, and I don't even know if she likes it now or not. But I'm a grown man now. I love you, mom. My mom didn't like locks. The church that I grew up with did not like locks. The church looked at people with locks a certain way. Then when I went into the ministry, uh, most pastors did not have locks. That was considered the church at large looked at it a certain way, and so I had to keep a clean cut and this that and third. I had to keep what was considered a universal look to ensure that I didn't limit my access to spaces. And that's cool. That's cool if my goal is to enter into those spaces. That's what I'm saying. If my goal is to enter into those spaces, then there are some things about me that I would have to deny. But if my goal is to express my authentic self, then I have to accept the reality that who I am and who I am projecting that projection is not going to vibe with everybody. The sooner I accept that, the less disappointed and offended I will be when certain doors close. Do you hear what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, you have to do what you deem is best for you. But some of you, the point really of this whole discussion, and y'all been present, but y'all quiet. I really want to know what y'all thinking. The whole point of this discussion, hold on. Let me show y'all something. Hold on. Look. See what it is? He's calling me while I'm doing the Friday experience. Y'all see that? Yo, Ed, say what's up to the people. Yeah, yeah. No. You're on the live. You don't see them? You on the live, bro. Bro, I'm doing the Friday experience right now. Why are you calling me? Thank you, bro.
I'm gonna let you go though. Handle your business, bro.
Yo, I appreciate it, man. I love you, bro. You should probably
I'm a,
tune in. We talking about some good stuff right now.
well, I'm probably gonna catch the rerun because I'm at work.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, bro. We'll talk.
But I love y'all. I love y'all, man. Peace and blessings, bro.
Peace, peace.
Yeah,
You talk about me. He know I'm doing the Friday experience. It's Friday evening. I always anyway. That's my guy, yo. I love him, man. And so yeah, you have to know. Um, tapping in from her. Oh, that's what's up, bro. It's good to see you. You have to know if that's the space you want to enter. You have to know. Um, if I want to enter into this space, then there's certain things I cannot do. And it's up to you to ask yourself, is it worth is this space worth denying a part of me? It's our job to ask ourselves, is this space how much of me do I have to deny? How long do I have to deny those parts of me? Right? These are the questions you need to ask yourself, because a lot of people, I'm gonna be honest with you, a lot of you, you're getting offended because there's certain space that don't appreciate the authentic you. Listen, it's time to grow up. It's time to accept the reality that every space is not going to like you. Every person is not going to like you. Every career, every club, every city, every country, every culture, every music style, everything is not going to like you. And guess what? That is okay. Because if you want to cater to everybody, you cater to nobody. The moment you accept one thing, you offend somebody else. And so you need to know, you need to be clear about what it is you are trying to do. Who are you, and who are you trying to project? What spaces are, what other realities are you trying to go into, right? Because black people, if y'all don't know, we're really good at what they call code switching. Code switching is a real thing. Black people present themselves a certain way when they're in the presence of so-called powerful white people, and they switch who they are in order to ensure that they get the benefits of where they are. Now that's fine if that works for you. This is not to say that you shouldn't code switch. Code switching, what I am gonna say, because this is a fact whether you like it or not, code switching is a defense mechanism. Code switching is what we do because we recognize that we don't have the power to be ourselves in all spaces. And so we've learned I can enter into this space if I code switch. But I do it all the time. If somebody asks me to preach at a church, if somebody asks me, if someone says, "Hey, Pastor, I want you to preach at my church," and I know that their church is conservative, I know it's conservative. I don't think it's conservative. I know it's conservative. What am I going to do? I'm going to put on my suit. I'm going to tie my hair back, and I'm going to make sure that I project an image that's acceptable in that world, because I'm trying to gain access into that space. But what I'm also going to do, and now this is just me, I'm not saying you have to do this, but what I'm also going to do is I'm going to leave an impact so that when I leave that world, it's changed because of my presence. Now that's me. I rock stuff up. I shake stuff up. My goal is to leave impacts everywhere I go. My goal is to leave a mark in every world that I go. You're gonna know Lawrence was here because I left a mark there. Something that's gonna resonate with you. When I step into that space, I'm not trying to blend in. I'm just trying to gain access. Y'all not hearing me? I do enough so I can get in, but I'm not trying to blend in. I'm just trying to get in. Once I'm in, you're gonna know that I'm there. I'm gonna cause a ripple. I'm gonna change some stuff up because I can go back to my world whenever I choose. I like my world. My world is set. My world was built. I built my world by God's grace. God gave me the authority and the power to build my world, and I built it, and I love it. So if your world don't like me, that's cool. I can go back, but I might be able to go in there and help a few people in your world recognize that there's a better world outside of here, right? And that's okay. That's what I do. I go into dark spaces and then I shine the light when I'm in there. See, if I go into the dark space with the light, they're just gonna reject me on the front end. So I have to find a way to get in. But when I'm in there, boop, I put a light on it. That's what I do. because that's what I'm called to do. I want you to ask yourself, what is the world that you built? And are there other worlds you're looking to gain access to? And then ask yourself, are you projecting the person that will get access into those worlds? Now, if you don't want access anywhere, you're fine. But a lot of you want access into certain spaces, and you don't realize that the image that you're projecting is what's keeping you out. Oh yeah, I didn't do the second verse. There's another verse, Proverbs 22 verse 1. Man, I went in, and this is the verse. Well, the Lord does all things well, because this is the verse that really leads to that second point of the worlds that we live in. Because the first one says, "As a man thinketh, so is he." Right? But Proverbs 22, verse 1 says, "A good name is to be more desired than great wealth. Favor is better than silver or gold." A good name, a reputation, is to be more desired than great wealth. And so that means then, when we're talking about having this good name, this good reputation, that means the way that I'm projecting myself is important if I'm trying to get into certain spaces, right? Because if I project a certain self in those worlds, then everything that I need from those worlds will come to me. And so there's nothing wrong with working on your image. There's nothing wrong with making sure that you look like something that will get access into these spaces. You just want to make sure that as you're putting that good name out there, that you're not losing yourself along the process. You also want to make sure that the worlds that you're trying to get a good name from, that you're not selling your soul just to get a good name from them. And we see this when we look at the ministry of Jesus, right? That's why I love Jesus, because Jesus was really good at this. When you first start reading the story of Jesus, it was a wave, it was an impact. Everywhere he went, he was nothing but good, nothing but kind things they could say about Jesus. Jesus was an amazing person. Everybody loved Jesus. But then it got to a point where Jesus started saying some stuff that they wasn't really feeling, and they started to walk away. And Jesus was not embarrassed by that. Jesus said, "I came here to save you. I didn't come here to soothe you. I came here to ensure that you had salvation." And so I don't mind rocking some stuff up, but I'm not going to start rocking some stuff up. I'm going to ease my little all way in. I'm going to make you feel comfortable, and then boom, I'm going to shine that light. And some of you, you haven't been working on that good name. You haven't been working on the projection. You haven't considered, when I do this, how do they see it? And how would that affect what I'm trying to do? Right? So look, I mean, I could go down the list. I hate going down the list, but it really doesn't matter what it is you're trying to do. It doesn't matter what industry you're trying to get into. Whatever world you're trying to get access to, there is a projection you have to give, so that when they see you, they see someone who should be in this world. And if you're not intentional in projecting the version of you that belongs there, you'll never get access there. Yes, that is a different you, but it's still you. It is a real you in another reality. Y'all been doing too much crying and complaining about how you're not getting into certain spaces. What have you been projecting that lets that space know you belong there? I'm serious. What have you been showing them? Did you even gain any intel to learn what it is they're looking for? Because what's attractive to you might not be attractive to them. And if you're trying to gain access into those spaces, you need to know what you need to put on to be attracted to them, to be attractive to them, rather. You are responsible for that. Man, I hope y'all getting what I'm putting down. You have to be responsible for being a you that works in that world. It's it's no longer time. Look, okay, if the world is worth going into, and I keep leaning back on that because it's important, only do it if the world is worth going into. You have to decide, is it worth it? At this point in my life, I don't care what the opportunity, I'm not going to say that. But as far as my hair, I'm not cutting my hair just to gain access to any space. Now, if you're talking about paying me $10 million, I'll cut my hair off. I'll cut it off for $10 million. I love it, but it ain't that important to me. Trust me. 10 million, yeah, I'm gonna cut it off, right? But just to get a job, you trying to just hire me, but I gotta cut my hair? No, I'm not doing that. I'm sorry. I'll start my own business. I'll build. I'll build my own. That's the space that I'm in, right? Everything I do, I don't put on social media. Why? because I use social media as a tool to gain access into people's lives and to change their lives. So I'm not going to put everything on social media because some things will offend others, not because it's wrong, but because it contradicts the world that they created. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The queen said it'll grow again. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll speak to my hair and it will grow right back. Yeah, you pay me that 10 million. Amen to that. Hallelujah, right? Y'all know the vibes. And so yeah, they're just certain things are not worth it, is what I'm saying. But certain things, they're absolutely worth it. But I'm not the one to make the decision. You have to make that decision. You have to decide. It's up to you. Because if you look at the other you as a fake you, then I mean it ain't worth it. Why is the different you a fake you? I could be just as professional as the next. I could be just as corporate as the next. I could write scholarly papers. That's all me. That's within me. Look, I watch anime and I listen to hip hop. Right? That's all me and gospel. I could be as churchy. I fit very well in church. That's not a fake me in church. That's me. But when you catch me playing spades on the dominoes table and I'm there slamming the cards down and saying a couple words I can't say in church, that's also me. It's not a different me. You're seeing me in multiple realities. And I'm cool with every version of myself that I project in every world that I step into. I am okay with the version of me that's being projected. Because in each of these worlds, they're only getting some of me. None of these worlds is getting all of me. They're only getting some of me. People have identity crisis, absolutely. I need to check out that identity series too, because a lot of this is assuming that you check that out. If you haven't seen the identity series, you need to go on Facebook. As a matter of fact, I'll make it easier for you. Join the Facebook group, and I will share part one of the identity series in the group. I'll share it tonight when I get off the live, just so that you can have access to it, because the identity series is very, very powerful. But yeah, a lot of people are having identity crisis, and a lot of people, they don't know who they are in their core. They haven't yet mastered their own world, and they're trying to step into other worlds, and they're losing themselves because they haven't mastered their own world. Master your world. So when you step out there, you know who you're stepping out as. And who you're stepping out as will always be you. Will always be you. Listen to my boy Rosé. I listen to jazz and EDM. Come on, bro. Absolutely. And ain't nothing wrong with it. See, those who don't like EDM, they're not gonna bang with that. But that's okay. I like some EDM too. I ain't gonna hold you. I'm a music head, so I like a little bit of music. The only music I don't like is heavy metal. I'm sorry, that's just not for me. That don't work well in my world. There's not a version of me that's comfortable that I can be in there for a little bit, but don't be inviting me all the time. I'm not trying to be there. Heavy metal just doesn't work well. But that EDM, yeah, I'll go out there, jump up and down, and fist pump like a Jersey Shore or something. Trust me, you'll catch that. All right, is it okay? Is it okay as Christians to have multiple identities? Absolutely. Yes, it's okay, but some people's Christianity is governed by certain things that really have no problem with God. See, if your question was, is it okay with God, I would say yes. But when you talk about being a Christian, it gets a little complex because Christianity is corrupted in a lot of ways. And so because Christianity is corrupted and Christianity was designed to control, a lot of people are trying to fit into Christianity, but the version of Christianity, the world of Christianity they're trying to fit into, have nothing to do with Christ. This world of Christianity they're trying to fit into is lying to the rest of the world, and they know they're lying. You see what I mean? And so, if you're trying to fit into a version of Christianity that had nothing to do with Christ, then it might not be okay to have multiple identities. Remember, Paul said, "I am all things to all men. I become all things to all men." So Paul had no problem being a Roman when it was necessary. Paul had no problem being a Jew when it was necessary. Paul had no problem being a Pharisee when it was necessary. Look, I don't identify as Seventh Day Adventist, but boy, let there be an opportunity. Hey, I got some haystacks. when is Vespers? I'll be quick. Listen, let there be an opportunity. Let there be something in that world that I need. Something in that world I could capitalize on. I'm gonna be all up in there. Yeah, Patriots and Prophets, page 32 says I'll come up with something. I know enough about the Adventist world to be able to be in that world and be extremely comfortable and it still be me. And see, I'm saying it because some of you look at that like that's being fake and you haven't realized that you are so complex and that no world can fit the sum total of you. It's because within your own world, you've reduced yourself to something too small. You are a lot bigger than I think you understand. But as a man thinketh, so is he. If you think you're small, then that world view is going to impact the decisions that you make. But if you think you're big, if you think that you're large, if you think that you're amazing, then that's going to impact how you project to the rest of the world. That's bringing it back full circle. Those of you who came late, you need to watch it from the beginning to get the full understanding. Because I laid the foundation in the beginning, and the time is running out. And you never know. I might go on Clubhouse and keep talking about this, but you need to know the world that you live in. You need to know the world you live in. Rosé said, I miss some of this, but people form constructs in their own mind of who they think you are and then project that on you and then get upset, disappointed when you perform contrary to that construct. Yep. I definitely talked about that in the beginning. I said but I made it more about us. But yeah, when you're offended, most offenses, there's some things that are truly offensive. Absolutely. But most offenses is really because someone went against the ideas and concepts that you created. They really didn't do anything offensive. They didn't do anything. They were not intentionally trying to hurt you. When we talk about offense, we're talking about an intentional attack. That's what an offense is. An offense. Offense means I'm attacking you. Attack. That's offense. Some of you, you're just offended because you're too sensitive to you don't have any the word just slipped my mind right before I said it. Tolerance. You lack tolerance. You can't tolerate a different perspective of your own, and that's why you're always offended. The world is not a mean place. You're just too sensitive. You lack the tolerance to say everybody has the right to be different, and their differences does not impact my world. If you lack the ability to do that, then you're going to be offended by everything someone does. Look, on a personal level, I don't think anyone should be taking heroin. I don't think heroin should be taken. I don't see a good reason for anyone to try and use heroin. Like, why are you using heroin? That I on a personal idealistic perspective, I wouldn't recommend that for anyone. But guess what? You use heroin? Hey, that got nothing to do with my world. Got nothing to do with my world. Now, if you invite me over your house to shoot up some heroin, I'm gonna say no because heroin doesn't work well in my world. But I'm not gonna treat you like trash if I find out that you use heroin. That's on you, bro. We could talk about why and this, that, and the third. Fine. But if you're committed to that, that's on you. That's your world, and the world of all the other heroin users. I it doesn't bother me. I don't feel offended. That's what I'm saying. I don't feel offended by your heroin use. Doesn't offend me. I don't want it. I don't like it. It's not for me. It's not for my world. But you do you. When we come together, we're coming together to build a world that works for both of us. So just like Black Lives, right? We're fighting for the right to live. That's what we're fighting for right now. We're fighting for the right to live. Do you know that a Republican can agree that Black lives matter and have the right to live? It's possible. And so I'm not going to be like, oh, but you're a Republican. How can you say Black Lives Matter and you support the Republican Party? Da, da, da. They don't. They're not exclusive. So if you agree with me here, let's build a world where we can support the Black lives. Like, let's focus on that. And what you do outside of this world, that you do that out there. You do it there. It doesn't work here. You do it there, and it's okay. You understand what I'm saying? We need to be more tolerant and more respectful of the fact that other people's worlds will look different from ours. But we can't respect somebody else's world if we don't respect our own. We need to build our own so we can be respectful of others. Look, man, I'm gonna stop here, man. I'm gonna stop here because I don't know. I'm just done. My instant done, and I think I said everything I had to say. If y'all don't have nothing else to say, I'm gonna leave this with I'm gonna leave you with this reflection. Breathe. You know, it's always good to breathe. I ask you to breathe, right? Because I'm gonna say this, right? The Friday experience is its own world. There's not much like the Friday experience, and you might not see much like the Friday experience. The Friday experience is not like other churches, quote unquote. It's not like other spiritual communities. It's something different, and it's supposed to be. The Friday experience is a world for a specific type of person. If you're comfortable in your world with whatever church you go to, if that world is what you like and what we're doing here doesn't work for you, you don't have to be here. But if you rock with what we rocking, if you cool with what we about, because we about conversation, we're about respecting one another, we're about encouraging each other to grow, we're about encouraging each other to follow righteousness. But we're not about policing each other. That's not what we do here in the Friday experience. If you can cool with that, if you're just looking for a space where you can ask the questions you can't ask your pastor, then this is the space for you. I'm telling you. Because we're not trying to change each other, but we are trying to sharpen each other. Not change, but sharpen. Yes, don't try to change people or conform them to your image. Just let them be who they are and you make the necessity adjustments on your end. There it is. There it is. There it is. There it is. So ask yourself, have you been building your world? Have you been building your world? What do you want your world to look like? What's acceptable in your world? Man, I could turn this into a series, but I don't want to. How do you expect to have relationships with other people if your world isn't solid? How do you accept somebody in? How do you know who you should be in relationship with if your world isn't solid? Are you comfortable with you in your world? If you're not comfortable with you in your world, what makes you think you're going to be comfortable with you in someone else's world? And if you do find comfort in somebody else's world, why is that world not your world? Where's the disconnect? Ask yourself these questions. Seriously. These are really important questions. Some of you say you're looking for acceptance, but your lifestyle says you're looking for validation. Are you ready to deal with that? Are you ready to deal with that? Some of you, if you was left by yourself for 24 hours, you would lose your mind. When I mean left by yourself, I mean no social media, no television. The most you would have is an infinite amount of books to read, infinite amount of music to listen to, and the access to whatever food you want. But you can't talk to nobody. You can't express your opinions to anybody. You got to be with yourself. A lot of you wouldn't even know how to do that. Not even for 24 hours. You would lose your mind because you're so used to having a world where other worlds validate what you say and do. And if you're okay with that, so be it. But I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you to be okay with your world without the influences of other worlds. There's nothing wrong with being influenced by other worlds, but it should the influence of other worlds should be a necessity for you to be at peace in your own world. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Let's pray, man. Father in heaven, I said all that I could say. I said all that you asked me to say. I hope it resonates. I hope what I put out there, the people receive it the way that it's supposed to be received. Help us to be comfortable in our own world. Help us to be comfortable with the reality that there is a version of us that is ours, and there's a version of us that is not ours. It belongs to them. Help us to be comfortable with the fact that they're going to see us how they're going to see us, and that's not our problem. Our job is to be intentional in what it is we want them to see. But that's the most we can do. Help us to be comfortable with that so that we don't get offended and frustrated when they see something different. What they see is between them and themselves. What they see is a sum total of what they've been through. It's not our problem. As long as we're intentional. Help us to get the information maybe from the other world so that we can be intentional, but help us to not take on things that don't work for us just to gain access. But wherever we're trying to gain access to, let it be in agreement with us in some shape, form, or fashion. We thank you. We love you in Jesus' name. Amen. Listen, if you haven't already, please share this video if you found value in it. That's important. Also, If you haven't registered for the Restore Masculinity class course, 4 week course, you need to register for that, or you need to register your husband or your brother or your cousin or your somebody, your sons, because we're gonna talk about masculinity. I'm gonna put up a video about masculinity in the church. Uh, one of these days, it's coming. Trust me, it's coming. But the course starts July 7th. It's a 4 week course. Gonna be we meet Saturday and Sunday for 4 weeks. It's a lot of content. It, but there's also I'm doing it live, so it's not like modules. I'm actually going to be meeting with you virtually, and so the men you get to ask questions, so that way it can be as much as possible catered to you. You can get the clarity that you need specifically for your own life. And so it's going to be an awesome time. July 7th is when it starts, so you still have time. Go to www.lawrencesouffrant.com in order to register. But other than that, man, you are officially dismissed. Peace.